We are continuing our conversation about the new book on DMsGuild, Tap Untap Burn Elemental Key. This is our third video as we move our way through the book from front to back. The last conversation we had, episode 2, was about adding cantrips to your elemental monks so that even if you don't have any key, you look like you're an airbender, or you look like you're a firebender, or you look like the avatar they want you to be. So we're going to continue that conversation today. These are unscripted, so it could be a little rambly, but hopefully it comes from the heart. So Tap Untap Burn Elemental Key. It creates a new magic paradigm. Instead of using the 8 schools of magic, we're using either elemental magic or alternatively using the 5 color magic paradigm from Magic the Gathering. All the mechanics are the same. It's just which paradigm do you want to use, which is the great thing about paradigms in general. But today we're talking about a prepared spell list instead of the default learning that you get from the monk. One of the things that I think frustrates, it certainly frustrated me, but I think frustrates a lot of people about the Way of the Four Elements is that the monk it's a class similar to paladin, in that it has a lot of useful features that benefits itself and the party. And then when you get into the subclass, it helps define what your role or what kind of devotion you have, where your studies are at, either in faith as a paladin, or in this sense, the tradition that you follow, the learning that you have from the temple or the masters, or the tradition of martial arts that you follow in the D&D game. What's interesting about this is that we see the Way of the Four Elements here, and normally when you're a class, you get a stack of different options, features, subclass features that you get at different levels. And in the case of the monk, you get subclass features at 3rd when you first take your tradition, and then 6th, 11th, and 17th level. This isn't any different than it is for rangers, artificers, or paladins. But what is different is that rangers, artificers, and paladins have a stack of class abilities that they get just for being the class that they are, which I'll just point at here real quick since I'm in D&D Beyond. When I scroll up here to the top, you can see that there's a slew of abilities that they get, just like rangers get a slew of abilities, just like artificer gets a slew of abilities, and paladins also get a slew of abilities. But what's different about the monk is that while the paladin, we'll just stay with paladin as the example because I think that one is the most relevant, the most mirrored to the monk in general. The paladin gets a stack of specific abilities every time it gains a subclass level. I think it's at first, 5th. I don't know exactly. Forgive me. This isn't a paladin discussion, and I didn't research it ahead of time. I'm just thinking about it. But the traditions, again, basically every tier. Every 1 to 5 levels, like 1 to 5, and then 6 to 10, and then 11 to 15, 11 to 16, and then 17 to 20. Basically, martial classes and half-casting classes get a new subclass feature every tier. So, but then the paladin, on top of getting a subclass feature every tier, it also has a full set of spells that it can prepare, and it has an entire spell casting pool of either spell points, if you're like me and you love spell points, or spell slots if you're going with the default from the game. It has a full half-casting stack of spell resources and a dynamic list of 50 spells it can choose from any given day, on top of all the things that it gets every tier as it acquires new levels of its subclass. But the monk doesn't. The monk has no subclass features that it gains. It doesn't have a stack of 50 spells that it can pick through. In fact, the class is very specifically designed that for elements. Let's look at it here again real quick. The only thing that you get for taking this class is you get one cantrip at 3rd level, and then you get a 1st level spell at 3rd level. You get a 2nd level spell at 5th level, 6th level. You get a 3rd level spell at 11th level, and then at 17th level you can get either a 4th or a 5th level spell. So you basically get one cantrip and 4 spells throughout your entire 20 level career with no additional subclass features, in comparison to a paladin that gets a full battery of 50 spells to choose from every day, roughly 40 spell slots worth of spell casting power that you get to repower, that you get to cast every day, and you get your subclass features. Did I say that twice? It's huge. The difference is huge. And the subclass features that paladins, rangers, artificers get generally don't use their spell slots to use those subclass features. So even if you burn through all of your spell slots for the day, you're still doing, like in the case of a ranger, nearly every round, whatever it is that your subclass is supposed to be doing, whether you're hitting things more often or sneaking super good, or whatever it is that you're supposed to be doing. You're not being limited by your mana pool to be able to continue acting like the subclass you're supposed to do. And the monk is the complete opposite. Almost everything in the monk relies on its key pool, which is a short rest resource. So at best, you're getting 1 key per level, and most of these things cost a ridiculous amount of key to cast. So you are quickly burning through your key, and you're either choosing to be a generic monk, or you're choosing to act like you are part of the Way of the 4 Elements, but you can't really do both. It's very restrictive. So one of the things that we have done with this book is we've opened up that spell list. We're keeping the short rest mechanic because that's something unique to the monk, and it's fun to play with. And I play with that in different character class options and different mana mechanic books. So I love the short rest mechanic pool. I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's a great solution to, I think honestly paladins would benefit from being on a short rest pool because it really limits their ability to do burst damage with smite. If that's a problem you have at your table, you might want to consider switching to 1 mana per level and then charging 1 point per level of smite that they expend. Like 5th level smite is 5 points, so they can only do 4 of them per short rest. That's going to motivate your team to take more short rests. But I digress. That's just a personal philosophy, and again, it just mirrors what the monk is supposed to be able to do. I just think the monk and the paladin are very similar in that regard. But so what we're doing here is, sorry, like I said, this is unscripted. I'm off track for a second there. Sorry about that. But what Tap Untap Burn Elemental Key does is it assumes that you are going to be a prepared caster, identical to the paladin. So let's take a look here real quick. Zoom in here and look at our key progression table. This is no different from what is already being listed here in the Way of the 4 Elements, in the way that you're able to progress through key, except that it just puts it on a mana progression table, just like you'd see for the paladin. We know that paladins and monks gain key or spells at 2nd level, and that they can only do basically 1st level spells. And then at 5th, you gain access to 2nd, and at 9th, you gain access to 3rd. At 13th, you gain access to 4th, and at 17th, you gain access to 5th. The thing, and again, just to reiterate here, the thing about the Way of the 4 Elements is that you only gain 4 class features that they want you to spread across 5 levels of spells. It's a disparage that does not sync. So what we did is we decoupled that. I will be discussing the class features that you get with Way of the 4 Elements in the next episode. But on top of that, we decouple your class level scaling, the subclass scaling, from your spell slot or your spell casting progression. So it's identical to a paladin. Even though at 11th level you get a monk subclass feature, it doesn't have anything to do with what your casting level is. This is the same progression that rangers, artificers, and paladins get. So it's just that at 3rd level, you don't actually pick what type of a monk you are until your 3rd level. You get ki, and there's generic things that you do with ki, like flurry of blows and other things that we'll look at later on. But you already have like a set of spell-like abilities that you get at 2nd level. And then at 3rd level, you can start buying into and using your ki pool to cast actual spells. So on top of this progression of 2, 5, 9, 13, and 17, where you're continuing to add new spells at the same progression as other half-casters are, we've buffed out the list so that you've got over 50 abilities that you can prepare. And it uses the same preparation mechanic. I mean, you probably pause this, or just check the link below and just click on it. You can read the entire book at no cost. Here on DMsGuild, where is it? This is the link that goes to the bundle that has all the books. And you can see it's 33% off if you buy it inside this bundle with all the other core mechanic ideas. But let's find, what am I looking for? I'm looking for, there you go, ki. Let's just pop this open to look at it. And as you can see, the full book is available for you to thumb through. But no reason to thumb through it here. We're just going to, here's the, nope, that's the wrong one. Here's the download that you get. So here's a download, and if you download it, you get this list as a spreadsheet. So you can add additional features. You can change which elements or colors you think they should be devoted to. There's a lot of fun things you can do to play with the list and add to it. It's an editable list. It's just a spreadsheet. It's in a zip document along with mana tokens and a mana play sheet that we'll look at later on. It's a full kit for you to build your own type of monks with. And this is its template. So we're looking here, you have cantrips, which don't cost any ki. And then you got 1st level, you got 2nd level, you got 3rd level, you got a smattering of 4th level. There's a gap. There's not a lot of 4th level representation in elemental spells in D&D. We noticed this. And then there's a lot in 5th as well. So at any given time, you, depending on what level you are, you can just pick from this list what kind of disciplines do you want to know today. And it works exactly the same as a paladin. It's half your monk level, round down, plus your wisdom modifier. So in the example here, we're looking, for example, a 9th level monk with 16 wisdom can prepare a total of 7 disciplines that cost 3 ki or less each, 3rd level or less. In this system, the way that we recalibrated the spell points is that a discipline level is how many ki it costs. You don't need to charge 2 ki for a 1st level spell. I've been using this for years. You don't need to do it. There's no balance issue. Try it yourself. You'll love it. It's so easy. One ki for 1st level, 5 ki for 5th level, and everything in between, 3, 4, 2, whatever. At 9th level, you can cast 3rd level spells up to 3 ki. The math is super easy. So it's 7th level, 9th level. Half of 9th level is 4, and then 16 is a +3 modifier, so 4 + 3 = 7. You can memorize, or you can prepare 7 disciplines. And the big difference between this and other casting is that you can prepare cantrips, which is super fun. And considering how the class works, it makes sense, because if you run out of ki, you don't. Let's say you want to have. You could make it so that you have to learn the cantrip and then change it when you gain a level up. But my personal philosophy, if you're preparing spells, you should be able to prepare your cantrips just the same. They're not that special. There's lower power. You can argue with me if you want. I don't care. That's just how I roll, and it's specifically for the monk. So fight me if you want. But you could at this 9th level, you could prepare 7 cantrips, and you could save all of your ki for monk stuff. So you can do Stunning Strike and not lose out on your spell casting. You could do Flurry of Blows and not lose out on your spell casting. And this, for the monk specifically, it makes a lot of sense that you'd be able to just prepare cantrips as well as 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th level spells. So as you go through 9th level, you can have up to 3rd level spells. And look, if you're familiar with 5e, you'll know that half of 20 is 10. And generally, you can't have more than a 20 in wisdom at high levels. So that's 5. So you can't have more than 15 disciplines at any given time that you prepared. And look at this. There's more than 15 disciplines for each element. There's more than 15 disciplines for each color. Regardless of which color paradigm you choose, you can either be a firebender, or you could be an avatar for all elements. And each day, you could choose which one you want to be. Let's say your DM wants to say, we're going to play an avatar campaign, and if you all want to be benders, choose your element. That's going to be the only element that you learn. All your key is going to be fire key, because you're from the Fire Nation. And you've got a ton of fire disciplines to choose from. And you can represent fire all day long and burn through all your key, do fire damage or lightning damage when you learn it, and you can stay focused in that. If you want to be from the water tribe, then there's a ton of water disciplines that you can learn. All you need is water key. But if you're going to be, let's say if you're the only, let's say you're the only monk in your group, then it might make sense that you're the avatar, and that you've got a fighter with you, and you've got a cleric with you, or a druid, or whatever. You've got a full team, and you're the only monk in the team, and so it makes sense that I want to be the avatar. Okay, great. So today you can use all different types of elemental key to cast an array of different type of elemental disciplines. You can pick up, let's say you want to pick up some air and fire because you're planning on fighting cold, like creatures that are resistant to fire, or creatures that are vulnerable to fire even, and then that's what you're going to focus on today. And maybe you're going to be flying around in the Storm King Giant's flying castle, and you don't want to die, so you're going to take some air disciplines so that you can survive the fall if it happens, or so that you can navigate from the sky to the ground more easily and have a more dynamic campaign. You could go with water. If you're going to be doing an aquatic adventure, you can swap out your stuff so that you're now going to be a water bender today. And the system allows you, by just going with preparation instead of learn, makes your character so much more dynamic that it's like, this is an exciting option to pick from. You can depict yourself as any way you want, and your key is going to align with it. So you're throwing fire damage with your fire key. You're using your air key to do air disciplines, to deal cold damage, or to do hold person. Like for some reason they made hold person fist. Where is it? It's number 2. Which spell is it? It is hold person, clinch of the north wind. There it is. Clinch of the north wind is the hold person spell. It's clinch of the north wind. Wind air equals air spell. So there you go. It's an airbender ability, which equals A. If you're using the color mana paradigm, let's say you're Prismari from Strixhaven, or Quandrix is also blue in Strixhaven. Both of them could pick up Clinch of the North Wind, and maybe you'll name it something different. Maybe we'll build an alternate list of discipline names that are going to correspond with Magic the Gathering card titles, and it becomes zero-sum equation or something like that, and that's what your hold person becomes. But you're going to use blue mana to cast it, or if you're in Prismari, maybe it's binding. Maybe it's blinding radiance or binding radiance. Not blinding, binding radiance. So you create these electrical effects that bind the character in place, and maybe that's you're representing as blue mana. So you can have all your flavor correspond with the mechanics that you're using with these different magic paradigms, which we did a deep dive in the first video. So that's about all I have to say. I kind of ranted here because I just love that, just how simple it is. Opening up, having a full list of 50 abilities, 50 disciplines. The paladin, the ranger, the artificer, they all have about 50 spells that they can choose from across their career. By doing the same thing, and by instead making their mana progress, their spellcasting progression equal the same progression at the 5 points, equal to what the other half casters do, and remove it from the subclass progression of only 4 across your entire career, you are essentially making the 4th half casting class in Dungeons & Dragons, which is the monk. So that's all we have for talking about preparing disciplines for the monk. I love this, and I hope if you have a chance to look through this, you're going to see that there's just this is a really competitive class. by just using this front end component, like the first 4 pages of this book, is all you need to drop it into any D&D campaign as written, and it's gonna function just fine alongside everything else. Once you get past the 4th, 5th page, it's the first 6 pages. Once you get past the first 6 pages, you start delving into Tap Untap Burn mechanics, Magic the Gathering, mana conservation, and magic resources that play differently than normal 5e does. And that's fun to explore, but if it's not for your campaign, you're just running a normal rules as written D&D campaign, the first 6 pages of this book, perfectly fine with just these variant rules. The further in the book you get, the further down the rabbit hole you go into what we like to call couture design, in that it's exploring the fringe of what 5e could be, and it's there specifically to explore new brain space, where the role-playing game could go, what you could do if like you're running a Ravnica campaign or a Strixhaven campaign as though it were Magic the Gathering. But like the 4 elemental paradigm works perfectly fine alongside rules as written D&D. So check it out. The first 6 pages are absolutely something you want to do with your monks. And as we continue to develop more of these books, we'll explore Kinsey and Drunken Master, Open Hand, Dragon Ascendant, all these different monk variants. We're going to do the same sort of kit work with, so that they become their own unique half-casting classes, like variant half-casting monk classes. So the 4th half-casting monk class is going to have completely different spell selections and different types of key that you can use, for like shadow monks having blue and black mana, black magic shadow key that you can use to do all these different shadow and illusion spells, to just make it like really complement the shadow sorcerer, for example. This will be like a ranger version of the shadow sorcerer. So there's cool stuff on the way. So check it out, see if you like the vibe, and drop me a signal. Like this, follow me on Twitter, drop me a line, say hey, let me know what you're thinking about. In the future, as we develop these books more, we'll do design jams on this channel and start flipping through spells and seeing what we want to add, so we can get to that 50 count of spells that should be added to their unique spellcasting list. It's going to be a lot of fun, and if you like what this is like, you're welcome to call on and check it out. So looking forward to hearing from you. That's all I have for now. I appreciate you letting me rant. There's going to be more. A lot more, like another 15 of these as I go through the book. So stay tuned and hold on tight.